I can't believe you bend your words like you're together spoons. I'm not quite safe here, and every judgment seems to smack of doom. Are you okay? I'm just fine. You take Nancy, for me Loretta's fine. Legal precedent put us straight, but no one's brought up suit. And I'm assuming that if they did, the point would still be moot. Are you okay? I'm just fine. Can you take Nancy, for me Loretta's fine. No, I've changed my mind. I'll take Nancy, for you Loretta's fine. Still we walk with our faces, and I'll admit there's not that much to say, and I will follow through, half expecting you to follow suit. I can't believe you bend your words like you're together spoons. You're not quite safe here, and every judgment seems to smack of doom. Are you okay? I'm just fine. You take Nancy, for me Loretta's fine. Change my mind. I'll take Nancy, for you Loretta's fine. Loretta's fine. Loretta's fine. Loretta's fine.
welcome to the first show called the Guitar Corner with Pat and Paul. I'm Paul Gagne, this is Pat Gebhardt. And we've been playing together a long time, and I started off playing drums in the bands, garage bands, bar bands with Pat on bass, and he was usually the bass player, lead singer. He was always typically the guy who showed us how to play the songs right, too. Back in the early days, and then I switched over to guitar, and he was nice enough to still play with me after the drummer switched over to guitar. But I went for a lot of lessons to catch up, and so here we are, still jamming together. And this and this song we're going to be playing is one of my originals called FM McGill, and it's about this guitar. I won this guitar. It's a nylon string, beautiful custom-made guitar by Paul McGill is a Luther in Nashville. He's made guitars for some of the top pros: Chet Atkins, Earl Klugh, Peter White. He's Merrill Anderson, Mark Antone, some smooth jazz players. So he's really got a repertoire of some top pros that love his guitar. And the reason why they like this guitar, one of the reasons is because it has a different kind of pickup system. For a nylon guitar, it's usually very challenging to get it to play in a live group, because nylon string the acoustic is a lot of air movement, and it feeds back at high gain. So he has these Robert McClish pickups that are intonated by each little, on the bridge here in the saddle, each string is like a mini pickup, and it goes by the string vibrations instead of the air movement inside the guitar. It's a little of a technical thing, but guitar players might know there's a lot of feedback problems, and this solves it. So it's always been a beautiful guitar, and I always thought if someday I could ever afford to buy one, this is what I'd want to get. And then fortune came my way when this little small circulation guitar magazine I used to buy, called Fingerstyle Guitar Magazine, out of Nashville. They were really unique because they came with a CD of songs. They were all like instrumental songs and the sheet music to them. So anyway, they had a 10-year anniversary, and they were giving away a Paul McGill Super Ace. This is the Super Ace model, giving away one, and it's the only ever time I sent in a guitar entry form, ripped it out of the back cover, mailed it in. The only time I ever tried to win one of these guitars, and I won. And that's the good news. And then I was so happy. Happiest day of my life, for my kids, of course, got to say that. But then the guitar magazine went out of business, and he ran into some health issues with him and his wife, and was switching his guitars around. He wasn't making these anymore for a while, but I wasn't going to let that stop me. So I call him up every 3 months, not for 1 year, not for 2 years, for 6 years. I called this guy every 3 months, and I thought it was just like, I'm just going to wear him down. I'm just going to wear him out until he finally makes me that guitar. And we actually became pretty good friends, and I ended up going through this health crisis, and he was really instrumental in helping me really keep it at bay. So it was kind of, I don't know, kismet or something. And then 6 years later, this guitar was delivered at my doorstep, and then the guitar magazine had a comeback, and they were going to feature, I was going to be able to have a feature where I played a song on the winning 10th anniversary guitar. So I looked into maybe doing a cover, and then I found out there's all these cover right issues where you got to pay, like it was going to be like a couple pennies an issue, or it was going to cost thousands of dollars. So I said, I'm going to write a song. Never did that before. So I wrote a song and I called it FM McGill, which is FM for Fingerstyle Magazine, McGill for the Luther. And then I just wrote it, and then it turns out the chord progression is pretty much the same chord progression as Autumn Leaves, minus that little beginning. But the basic chord progression is like a 2-5-1, then to the major 4, and then the minor flat 5. So turns out it's pretty close to it, but my melody line is different, and I do have a different bridge part. So you can't be copyright infringement on chord progressions. pretty much melodies and other similarities. So I don't think I'm in. I don't think I have any liabilities going on. But anyway, turns out that's kind of how the song was. And for this show, we figured we'd start off with an original. And Pat here just came up with a bass line kind of like last night, pretty much. So that's what we figure we'll do on this show. We'll play some songs and we'll talk about them a little bit, and then play some more songs. And maybe Pat's been buying a lot of cool guitars and learning some cool riffs on them. So maybe we'll get him to bring in some of them. And that's why we're going to call this the Guitar Show with Pat and Paul.
This is a sawtooth. This is actually a fretless bass, a line fretless, with a pickup system in it. Beautiful bass. Sounds great with this Brazilian stuff. Most kinds of music. It's got a big. Big sound like a upright. So
Wow, it really does punch. Yeah. It really's got a big punch to it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful too, sawtooth. Yeah, no frets on that thing. It looks like there's frets. It's got the fret markers,
lined. Yeah.
the fret lines, but
Yeah.
I would think they almost mess you up a little bit because.
Yeah, they do a little bit.
I know Pat's been playing fretless for a while. It's not for the faint of heart playing a fretless bass. The 2-5-1 is a very standard jazz move. I'm in the key of C major, and it goes D minor 7, which is the 2 chord, over to the G7, which is the 5 chord, also called a dominant chord. And I throw a little sharp 5, and then I go to the 1 chord, which is the major 7. And then the typical on the 4 chord when you're playing jazz is typically a major 7 as well. So the 4 chord of C is F major 7, and then I go to the 7th chord of the C scale, which is a B. It's a B minor 7 flat 5. It's actually got a flat 5 in it to keep it. It's all to keep that F from being an F natural instead of an F sharp, because in a B minor you typically play an F sharp, which isn't in the key of C, so you make it a flat 5. So it's really all straight up, every chord, the chords in the C major, except for this last chord is. Anyway, so then I switch it down a key and just do the whole thing down and out of B flat and do a 2-5-1 in B flat, which is a typical move too in jazz. When you take the 1 chord, which is the G, which is usually a major 7, you make it a minor. And that's exactly what I did. I made it a minor. And then I just started the whole progression from there. And so I kind of used all the cliche kind of jazz moves. But from my first time out of the gate, that's it's understandable. The melody is kind of interesting, I think, in that it has some chromatic walk-ups too, which is typical in jazz too. Use a lot of chromatic. That's a chromatic. Another chromatic. So then I just do the same thing when I drop it down a key. So besides that, besides the little intermediate, the intermediate part or the interlude part, that's pretty much the song right there. I don't know how to make sense of it, but it sounds right. It's right. Pat, did you want to talk about anything you came up with on the song for riffs?
I'm good on this.
Good on this one?
Yeah.
All right. This next one is another original. It's called Device de Brazil, and because it has 2 influences in it. Robert Device was, I think in the 1500s, he was a court guitarist. I think Louis the 14th or 15th. And I love playing his suite in D minor. So I think some of this might have been influenced by him. And then in the middle, I switched it over to like this Brazilian thing. So that's why I put the two together. The VC de Brazil. So to finish up this show's the first edition here of the guitar show with Pat and Paul, we'll do more collaboration as we go, and we'll be bringing in guests. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, please let me know. You know, could use a percussionist and something like that on some of this stuff. We have some other musical equipment coming in, and singers and so forth. We're going to be having some more guests. But please let me know if you'd like to be part of it.